Welcome to 9601 South Cottage Grove, one of the best kept secrets in the south side of Chicago. I'm the executive director of Sweetwater Foundation, but I'm also the director of Chicago State's Aquaponics Center. Aquaponics is not even in the dictionary yet, but it is becoming one of the fastest growing global trends to watch. Biologically informed mathematics. What does that mean? Small amount of space. You have to understand your plants, your distance, the life cycle of the plant, how much space you have, what's your kilowatt per hour energy. You have to understand how long, what's the growth cycle for the small plants to become more mature. So here's an example of a hands-on learning by doing activity for our youth. So when the plants get a little bit bigger, we teach the kids how to do the transplanting based on the life cycle because they need to have more light. So there's different types of light systems you can have. One is the LEDs, we have the T5, the fluorescents. Under these, we try to teach how red and blue wavelength spectrums are better for certain plants and accelerate the growth conditions. But, it's harder to manage. Sometimes you can't see what's going on. Here, all of this is math and science. That's the main thing. We took the metal racking systems from the display cases from the old shoe warehouse. This used to be all shoe warehouse. And then turned them into the structure for the plants. If you have not heard of aquaponics before, so how many vacant lots do we have in the city of Chicago, Milwaukee, Detroit, St. Louis, etc., Baltimore, everywhere? How many empty buildings? How many foreclosed buildings? We're just watching our ecosystem collapse. So what we do with this is we insert new life into those ecosystems to reconnect where people are being disconnected. So when you actually teach somebody how to plant the seed and they care and learn over the science and biology and math of it over time, they get more connected. They find other people that become their mentors like us. We have a mentorship program. So traditional gardening, we have an empty lot, we do a garden. We try to do the raised bed so it comes up a little bit, and then we can plant seed in safe soil. Container gardens are great, but they're still susceptible to the weather. So what we do is a combination of hydroponics, where you grow indoor year-round, so it's temperature controlled year-round, and then we got aquaponics. So aquaponics, you feed the fish, they eat, they fertilize the water naturally, the water goes to a biofilter, and it gets filtered by the plants to take all that good stuff out to go back to the fish. That's our fish. Over the course of 8 months, we'll get a 3-pound fish. Look at the net, I'll pull one out. So when you feed the fish, they eat, they fertilize the water. The water comes over to our grow beds, and then our vegetables and everything just soak up all of the good, healthy water. So it just sits in the water, growing, so we have beyond organic. So you get like a 3-pound fish, 2.5, 3-pound fish. Course of a life cycle. So that's an example of the commercial scale system, because obviously you can produce a whole lot of fish and food in a small amount of space. What we try and do is encourage kids to look at science and math a whole new different way. So how do you take this and go home with it? Or how do you do it as a science project, your math project, your technology project, your engineering project, your art project? So STEAM. Science, technology, engineering, art, and math. We have kids that learn how to do it there, they come here, and they start innovating, doing it on their own. So in an old shoe warehouse, we got innovation for 21st century. How do you take pop bottles and water bottles and then have it produce fresh mint? Pop bottles and water bottles where the water goes up, trickling back down, and it produces fresh earth, fresh mint. Once a student learns how to do all this, or once somebody, we need carpenters, plumbers, electricians, all that stuff. How do you apply it? So we got the chalkboard. How do you frame up the questions? Chalkboard is part of like the mycelia project, where you put a conversation up on the wall, frame the conversation so people can come together in a space to have a conversation about their future. So, what does it mean to be 55 gallons? Well, I don't know. How do I know what 55 gallons is? And then how do I know how much it weighs? So all the formulas are on the wall, on the whiteboard. And then what we do is we just apply it here. So here's your applied mathematics, your applied science, everything. This is the classroom. Help them build the system. They maintain the system. It was an extension of their sub shop. They did the wall mural. They did the whole thing transformed, and then they did for local custom food experiences, and then we flip into different types of things, and then that's the future of your kitchen.
There's fundamental differences in the way that they handle aggressive behaviors at schools that have a majority black population versus those that have a predominantly white population. He said that in a lot of suburban schools with more white students, if two kids got in a fight, they would be broken up, they would be taken to a mediation room. They would each have an adult to talk to, then they would come back, get to the root of the problem, then they would shake hands. In the black schools, two people fight, they might go to prison, and they're surely going to get suspended. You know, where you have a lot of black kids having to go through metal detectors, and a lot of white kids not going through metal detectors.
Right when you walk in, it makes you feel a certain type of way. So I think like it's all a strategic plan for that specific school district, so to speak, to kind of group a certain demographic.
I think it can be lined up with that weapons of mass destruction for people. Media making pictures like high schools, like you said, black schools having metal detectors. These kids coming in with weapons. You get these other schools, predominantly white schools, having these issues with guns coming in, shooting up the place. Right. Don't have metal detectors. It's kind of like contradiction. These kids are what they're stereotypical them for coming in and having guns every day. They're coming to all these big issues where you have everybody scared. Right. You really don't have metal detectors. So what are you saying?
A lot of people don't know what the city of Chicago is based on funding, like taxes. So if you go to like a program like he was program and he goes to the south. The city takes taxes off the houses around the neighborhood to fund those schools. So it's not going to be the same amount of money like the Oak Park Road 4 high school, which is like they got $150 home on every block and every corner. Take the taxes out of there, it's almost $10,000 a year. That funds that Oak Park Road 4 high school. So you won't get no taxes to go and come in or clear book bag, they just walk in school. But what people don't know is because it's so much money comes from those taxes that a lot of things go unheard and unseen. So it's like it's a lot of people, a lot of Caucasian males, African American males, they come to school and they have drugs. They're the same thing in the black communities, but it's not. Chicago police is making that big to make a name out there so they can actually say they're doing something to stop the crime, which they're not.
I don't just blame the media, I blame lack of parent involvement and the structure, because my household was one way, and then when he started connecting with his friends, I won't just say peer pressure, I just say these images that we allow, you still have to impart in your children that those images are not necessarily who you are.
In order for an ecosystem to sustain and flourish, it needs a certain level of balance. What we've been experiencing in our communities is the extraction over and over, either money or education, closing schools, et cetera, and you get disconnect.